This is day 950, Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. This week's Arukh HaShulchan Yomi was sponsored last Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parshas by Yigash, Rechovot Shabbos Kodesh, by a generous donor and a gracie Yashkoyach to him. Today we are doing Siman Tov Reish Lamates Sif Chav Vav, the Siman Tov Reish Mem Sif Dalet. Chavav, Medina the Gemara. According to the letter of the law of the Gemara, Yesh levarach leisha b'sukkah v'chol pam shenichas ba. Shmei brach nir leisha b'sukkah every time you go into sukkah. Neisha mitzvah leisha b'sukkah levarach l'v'shasi l'shena. So mitzvah sit in the sukkah independently of eating or drinking there, eating or sleeping there. B'zel, I say shia shena, not shia. B'zel the see that's that which says the sukkah station where you should sit in the sukkahs. Klamarti sagvu sham tarried there. She was young for 7 days. Come over tefillin, just like tefillin. Because she calls my sheminicham levarach. Every time I put it on, I make a bracha. I feel nichas v'yetzim misukos v'asar you're behind. Therefore, every time even you come into and out of your sukkah 10 times a day, you should be required to make a bracha each time. After you left the sukkah, the start bracha because the prior bracha has been rendered inoperative. That, however, is when you left an absolute leaving for the purpose of your own personal concerns. So not to come back immediately. If you went out to at least speak to your friend, bring something back to the sukkah, it says anything similar. Answer the bracha, let's make a bracha the second time. Became Pascal Arif Rosh Sham and the Rosh Pascal that way. Became Pascal Rambam passed away Perek Vav. Then you base the Sel Shano. And there's a quote from the Rambam. Goes Mashiach L'Seishev Sukkah as long as he enters the Sukkah. Kol Shiva all 7 days before Kodim Shieshev makes a bracha before he sits in the Sukkah. Shek Yisham B'Sussah B'Tzivah L'Leishev B'Sukkah. But you should come to sit down. Akal Shano Mashitzu Kodim Shieshev. That which he says in the Rambam says Amavar Kodem Sheyeshev to make a bracha before you sit down, which seems a bit interesting. Yeshiv's bar b'sim tov reish mem gimel b'siyat Shema is going to explain later on. Amnam Rabbeinu Ham, that's Rambam. Amnam Rabbeinu Tam Pasar. Shentzah leisha b'sukkah Rab Shasuda. When times Pesach is only make a bracha leisha b'sukkah at the time of a meal. Zel Shara Tur. This is what the Tur writes. Rabbeinu Tam Pireish. When time explains came sheikar it's Adam Osa b'sukkah sukkah. It's the primary permanence, the primary fixing of a person's place in the sukkah. Achila is the eating. Mevarach achila, he makes a bracha on eating, on the meal. Upaiter calls varim, he exempts everything else. Afila shena, even the sleeping. She chamura me'achila, which is more, even though it's more severe than eating. You're allowed to take a snack outside the sukkah. Not supposed to take a nap outside the sukkah. Nevertheless, since the eating is primary, Poteres Ashar exempts everything else. Akal Lashon, end quote. Henkos for Rosh Mordechai B'Shmo. They also write this is the name of the kid, name of the time the kid was called Advarim Haim Tfeilim L'Achilas, since everything else is subordinate to eating. Kamatil, like walking, taking a walk in the sukkah of Hashem and sleeping. Pilo Kulam Nitar Beros Achil, therefore all exempted with the bracha on eating. Koster Shinogik Rabbeinu Tam. The two rights that we custom is like Rabbeinu Tam. The Achronim say that it's best. Mishabur, I should say. Mishabur says that the Achronim say that it's appropriate to be Yotze also the opinions of the Yishanim that you make a bracha anytime you're at the sukkah, not just you eat. And therefore, immediately when you come home from shul, make a bracha on Sunday, which is from the Chamisha Minim, and eat it in the sukkah with a bracha. Chamisha Minim types of grain, mizonos, and that way you cover the Rambam as well. That's what Rabbi says. The right. The meaning is that you don't make a bracha except at a time when you're eating. End quote from quoting here. I'm quoting the tour. No. Now he's just quoting Beis Yosef. Okay, that's what he says. Beis Yosef. The Arukh is quoting Beis Yosef. The Rama adds that this is the custom. It doesn't seem he's adding anything to Beis Yosef. Yes, which is over those who hold. There are those who say the das Rabbi time is chumrah. Rabbi time there's also a stringency, not this leniency. Yashakol Mitsukosa, if he sits all day sukkah b'achal shnei pamim, that he may and he eats twice without leaving the sukkah. Mivarach goes to them, makes a bracha on each meal. It's a bachib and the tas. Yesh chalmim b'zeh. Those are the levushim magei Avram. Kain is da'iki ikar. That seems to be actually the case. Like the latter opinion, the shita semenatam lo achmir shita kodemes. The shita beitam doesn't continue machmir on the shita of the Rambam, but to become more be lenient. Since in this manner, according to the previous shita, you don't make a bracha, but the shita is for the second meal. That's our custom as well. Especially because we say in case of suffix brachas, you should refrain from making the bracha. Also, we're not sure you made a bracha leisha b'sukkah. Not lo yavarech, you should not make the bracha, but lo yahader laviat soidei chiyuv, and a person should not even try to be a machmir, to bring himself to an obligation to make a bracha. So as not to be in danger of the flip side of making a bracha b'atola. There are evidently people at the time of the Arukh HaShulchan who decided to make a bracha every time they come into a sukkah, like from the Rambam, and he says that this in brackets al pi das hagra. Evidently, the Gra actually held that way. I was not aware of that. HaShulchan takes exception to that. You have to eat. How do you have to eat? This is when you eat something which requires sukkah. When you eat more than kibetz of bread, or meaning mesikos or mazonos, or some sort of sweet mazonos, you have to make the bracha. Chav ches. B'da. You should know, lichora nearly borrow. It seems clear to me. Lichora. I feel she does very time. Lichora bear Tom's opinion. Ain't there b'sukkah satz? It's only when your own sukkah. And nichas the sheb b'sukkah sh'shgaveir sh'lo yochal shah. But if you enter your friend's sukkah and you're not going to eat there, so the bracha you made in your own sukkah doesn't exempt this one. You can't tell the bracha you have to make a bracha when you enter your friend's sukkah. That is not the custom. Perhaps the word Ramah said by Mashkas that this is the custom, Klomar, meaning I feel even in friends, so you don't make a bracha unless you eat. The time shafter the top scene the mitzvah chilon, because we hold that the ikar mitzvah is not eating. It's clear if you're in the middle of a suda somewhere else for Shah, you spend time there. Went back to the sukkah to eat. Make a bracha over again. You will be rech b'tchila suda, you don't make a bracha begin the meal. You bark b'emtzeg, you make it in the middle of the meal. Feel achar suda, even after the meal. Wow. So kapanim gamei shiva mina mitzvah, because sitting is still part of the mitzvah. And shlo baruch meikara, sitting make a bracha originally. You baruch kapanim babikara in the primary part of the mitzvah, which is the eating. Baruch kapanim batfeish, make a bracha at least in the secondary part. But Dani overloads, you also still consider be making the bracha prior to fulfilling the mitzvah, because you're still fulfilling the mitzvah of eating. Sorry, by Dani over. Not because he's going to eat, but because the sitting is also part of the mitzvah. A lot of Mishnah Berurahs that gives here. Shar Tzion says that even when at the middle of your meal, and you had a right to come back immediately, when you come back to finish your meal, you have to make a bracha again. But according, I'm not sure where you went. The Acharonim would say that going is not a hefsek. I don't know where you're going. It's not clear. If it's between feedings, there's a separate meal, so then you can make a second bracha. But if it's in the middle of one meal, it would seem to be it's one extended meal, and you can't make a second bracha, and that also is the opinion of the Beis Meir. As long as you want Mesiach Das, you from eating, you don't have to make a second bracha when you come back. The Mishnah Berurah is not as make the Arukh HaShulchan, as Meiko's Arukh HaShulchan said to say that even after you finish eating, you can make a bracha unless it's still before benching. And since it's before benching, you should make a bracha and eat a little bit. So he didn't go far as Arukh HaShulchan's psak, which is to make a bracha even after you finish eating on the sitting you're going to do from here on in. That's a major machlokes. Going to Mishnah Berurah, so you would have to eat in order to make the bracha, period. Taf Reish Mem. Miyam Apturim Mishiva Sukkah is exempt from the sitting of Sukkah. Aleph, Shana go in the Mishnah. Chavon tells the Mishnah, Shnashim Avadim Ktanim, women, slaves, and children, between the Sukkah, exempt from Sukkah. The Chol Mitzvah, Seisha, Zman, Grama, any Mitzvah, which is time, Pasuk command, which is time contingent. Nashim P'turas, women are exempt. Avadim B'Kshulim Nashim, and women are slaves, have the same halachas as women. Uktani P'turim B'Kol Mitzvahs, and minors are exempt from all mitzvahs. Ushar Mitzvahs, say any other Pasuk command, Kamo Shofar, V'Lulav, Lo tzracha tanash means at the time they didn't have to tell us. It's the came in the time of kedushin, since we know from substitution mitzvah seisha as man grama nashim keturas, a composite command which is time bound, women are exempt. This obviously follows. Mishum de besukkah emakol lamar, but besukkah there would be a place to say shayavas that they're required to sit in sukkah. By the way, of course, it would be such a place by the first night. Which you learn with Zero Shava 15:15 from Pesach. Let's have a Simon Kodim, like we're in the previous Simon. When Nashim is Chayavos ben Matzah, women are required to eat matzah. You see what I would say? The Gam Chayavos Sukkah, also liable to Sukkah on the first night. But what do you even saying all the rest of the 7 days? Came to see Teshvu came to do it and says you should sing your sukkah like you do in your house. My dear Ish Vishta Bazar, just like in your house. You said husband, wife, and children. The chayvim sukkah, let's require them to be in sukkah as well. None but davers that bam yuchar halach l'moshe misinah, and this we have the specific halach l'moshe which says the nashim p'turos, the women are exempt. The Gamba Kram room says so. It's hinted at in the pasuk. You can see like it says kol ezrach b'Yisrael shel b'sukkos. It says all the citizens in Israel will sit in sukkahs. Look, kol Ezra doesn't say all citizens, rather all the citizens. It comes down to Dafka Karm Shabizrachim, only the primary citizens. Vayna Nashim Gedolim, adult males chayvin are required to sukkah below Nashim time, not women or children. Based on Nam Nashim Shlana Rabos Yoshvos Pesukam Barchos Leisha Sukkah. Many of our women sit in the sukkah and make a bracha on the sukkah. Ain't a bracha batola. It's not in the bracha for naught. The only kaimon because that's our perspective. Chomitzah say Chomitzah Shesman Groman. Any mitzvah which is time contingent. Which just be done, they have the option also mitzvah to do the mitzvah and baruch and make a bracha on it. But ish leivrak v'shel ish leishe b'sukim who batzmo ain't tzarich lebracha. But a man should not make the bracha leishe sukkah to be motzi woman if he's not chayiv at that moment. V'akot and a child avshmin ator party even though the rice is exempt from sukkah mikom mishum mitzvah chinuch on account of mitzvah chinuch yesh lechancho leachol b'sukkah meizman shein tzarich limo. He should be educated in sukkah from the time he no longer needs his mother. 5 or 6 years old. Each child according to his development and acumen. The Mishnah Berurah says that some not going to hold that when it's above 5. If his father's in the city, in that case he doesn't need his mother so much. His father has to educate him in sukkah, even if he's not well developed intellectually, even if he's still doesn't have the acumen which a sharp kid would possess at 5. I'm sorry, V'chinuch mutal av. The chinuch is coming in the father. Ain't of imam b'chaim chalto. And if there's no father, the mother has to educate him. Melo av v'aim. If there's no the father and mother, based in mechanechim also. The children, the basin is required to mechanechim. Yes, and some say the chinuch elo av bilvad. The chinuch is only on the father. By Mashtam Leo Simon Shimon Gimel. Nevertheless, regardless, to given to eat liberally outside sukkah is inappropriate. The Mishnah Berurah says it's also to give food to somebody to eat outside sukkah to any person, meaning to put inside his mouth or to direct him to eat, but to give him just food into his hand, that would seem to be okay. But there's a rift by the beginning of sukkah, this story with Helena Malka. And the Yushalmi also seems to indicate there that there's a chiv chinuch is also incumbent on the child himself. And there's a chiv chinuch, it's not just a chiv chinuch on the parent, it's a chiv chinuch on the child. But Arukh HaShulchan does not take that tack here. I don't know why we're not meticulous about this. Um, but Mazaya in our day and age. Why we don't make children eat outside? Because in our countries, most of the time it's cold. Sukkot on the holiday of Sukkot. It's hard for the child to eat in the Sukkot of Tzarchi, and it's not clear. The Tuntum Adrenalus, we don't know what gender he is. Adrenalus has both genders. Chem is Savi, because maybe they're males. They don't make a bracha l'shem b'sukkah. The Savic brachas l'hakel. That's according to the Rambam sheet. The women don't make a bracha mitzvah seishas my grandma. Akem shenoshim varchos mosh kasav, but since women, according to the Ashkenaz tradition, do make a bracha, so to Tuntum and Andregas. Chetzer b'chetzer v'chayim is half eved and half free. Chayv, he's required to sukkah mavarch and makes a bracha. The chati ben chorin, the half which is free, chiyuv v'vadai, he has a definite obligation. And the child is obligated on the b'china, breaks the bracha as well. Gimel cholim shamshem, people are sick and people are serving them. Doesn't mean the person who's sick in a state of danger. Even if he's not in danger, the sukkah is difficult for him. Even has an ache in his head or an ache in his eyes. That this is an ache. And he's not sick. They're exempt who? He and those who are serving him. When the sukkah is difficult for this kind of ache. Some say that the servants are not exempt. Unless only the time when the sick person requires them. Mishabur says if it's a cholu is in danger, you can be. It seems to be made even if he doesn't require them right now. The reason why those who are serving the sick person are exempt. Some say they're involved in the mitzvah. They're exempt in the other mitzvah of sukkah. That's the Lushim al-Tanya. It's not clear to me, says the Arukh HaShulchan. That's you do it for free. B'shul mitzvah, you do it because of the mitzvah. And most of it's chayav if you're being paid to be an aid. Why should you not have to sit in the sukkah? Not why you're not sitting in mitzvah, which is a chiddush, because it's not even you're paid, called osik mitzvah. They say by morchet tefillin, etc. Okay. But as he says, most of it's schar chayim. It's getting paid should be liable. V'lo matzin things that one place we don't find such a distinction. One in the place. But further, my dimi time osik mitzvah is the kind of osik mitzvah. But the mitzvah, my time of the day are rishayna. What's the opinion of the first? What's the logic of the first opinion? The poteres oisam. I feel shalom b'shar by mitzvah. In the time they're not exempt from the mitzvah, not involved in the mitzvah. Davanirally seems to me there's a kol b'chlal teshuvah came to do. All this falls on the umbrella clause of you have to sit in the sukkah like you would dwell in your house. So a person whose dwelling place is difficult for his house will leave his dwelling place. And just like the people serving the sick person, leave the sick person and leave the house, and sit by the sick person. When they should leave the sukkah and go sit with the sick person in the house. I feel it's even if they're getting paid. No different than the people who are watching fruit who are exempt. Much as we shall see much later down. The sukkah is no better than a person's dwelling place. The first opinion holds the commotion just like the derech of people serving the sick person, they don't leave him immediately after they served him. Ella, Yoshvet, so they sit by him, and they schmooze with him, like people normally do. Don't go back to the house. So too, it's by sukkah as well. But the other ones hold them. When you completed your service, this is sukkah. Why should he not go and fulfill the mitzvah of sukkah for himself? Whatever doesn't fit into the parameters or the exemption of Teshu Kain Taduru, dwell like you would dwell in your house.